Hello, I'm Michael Richard, and I have a message for the President of the United States. Yes, this message is for you, President Chump. Oh, did I say chump? Yes, I actually meant that. Now, I know that even if you did see this, you wouldn't listen to what I'm saying, because you only listen to people who fawn over you and tell you you're the greatest, feeding your enormous self-ego and telling you what you want to hear, that you are the greatest. Well, you're not. They're feeding your ego and you're eating it all up. It's really quite pathetic, but not unexpected from such a narcissistic egomaniac like yourself. But here's the thing, you are actually the greatest fraud in the world, that is. You're a bigger fraud than P.T. Barnum, and he was pretty big, really big. But not as big as you, President Chump. In fact, I don't think P.T. Barnum could hold a candle to you. He wouldn't even be a spot on your shoe in terms of egomania and fraud. You know, I've been watching your news broadcasts, news conferences about the coronavirus, and every time you come on TV, you just come across as this bumbling, incompetent fool who's completely out of his depth and has no realization how serious things are. You tell everybody what a great job you're doing, but all you're doing is convincing yourself of that, because you know that deep down in your heart, you're doing a shitty, truly shitty job. And you're being fed and led on by those who have interest in staying in your shadows and being the power behind the throne. Because you are a puppet, you just don't know it. When you tell people what a great job you're doing, all you're doing is making a fool of yourself, which is pretty easy for you. But all the sycophantic jerks who are behind you and egging you on are secretly laughing at you behind their backs because they know what a fool and a fraud you are. But you're useful to them. Yes, they are using you, and you're too stupid to know it. A couple of years ago, on Bill Maher's show, John Kerry described you perfectly. He said you were the cross between a 6-year-old boy, or having the maturity of a 6-year-old boy, and the emotional insecurity of a teenage girl. Now, I bet that hurt. But the only reason it hurt is because you know it to be true. When people say something that is hurtful, but you know it not to be true, it has no power to hurt you. So I bet that one hurt. It's actually staggering how obviously incompetent, out of your depth you are. You're always telling people how smart you are, but in my opinion, if brains were dynamite, you wouldn't have enough to blow your own nose. And the same can be said of all of your supporters, many of whom are rabid racists and hate mongers. You're all stupid, and you don't deserve space on this earth. Your appeal to your fans is because you appeal to their baser instincts. You appeal to the racists, the right-wingers, the hate-mongers, anybody who you can stir up and feed them red meat. And you feed them red meat very well, I must say. You do that extremely well. But it doesn't make you a good president, and it certainly doesn't make you a good man. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You're terrible at both. Fox News, who's rabidly behind you, is so far up your ass that I'm surprised they're not coming out of your nose. They focus on hate and fear. And that's what you and your party want the American people to be focusing on. Hate and fear. Not the important things in life like paying the bills and how not to get really sick or how to keep a job or all of that. When I heard that Rush Limbaugh had terminal cancer, I actually thought, good, about time there was some karma. Good riddance to bad rubbish. He is a vile human being. I don't even think the word human should be used to describe him, but he's a vile person. And I'm not sure whether I hope the coronavirus gets him or lung cancer gets him. Either way, somebody's going to get him, and it'll be good riddance to bad rubbish, as I may have said earlier. Sean Hannity, another of your closest confidants, is another sycophantic jerk. It's hard to believe that these people can actually look at themselves in the mirror and sleep at night because they're so full of hate and vile. And everybody not everybody, but most of the people at Fox are almost as bad. The network is not a news network. You talk about fake news. Well, that's Fox News, fake news. But you like them because they, for the most part, support you and tell you what a great job you're doing. And, like everything else, you eat it up. You don't even put sugar on it. This epidemic that you and your supporters dismissed as fake news and a democratic hoax to ensure that you don't get re-elected for a second term is serious. But you don't think it is, or maybe you do now. But it's interesting to see that the greatest outbreaks, the largest outbreaks of coronavirus are in areas where the people there are rabid and devoted supporters of yours, and which will now suffer some of the highest death rates in the country. They believed every single word you said, and because they believed it, or were stupid enough to believe it, they put themselves at risk, and now they're paying the price. But it's not on them. I mean, they're stupid, they don't know any better. It's on you, because you're supposed to know better, and you're supposed to be bigger than that. But you're not. You're a small man. I wonder if all of these so-called supporters of yours on their deathbed, gasping for breath, will have second thoughts about their decision to follow you and support you in what they do. I'm not sure that they will. I think they're probably too stupid. But if the world is going to come to an end, and it may well do, I'll be very happy to go knowing that a lot of your supporters, hopefully most of them, will go before me. Now that might seem like a terrible thing to say, and it really is, but there is no place in the world for people like you and them. None. The human race generally is a pack of locusts. We land, we devour, we destroy, we move on. And you are the locust in chief, not the commander in chief. Now, you won't care how many people die. You won't care whether they're supporters of yours or not. You prefer them not to be supporters, but you really don't care, because you don't care about anybody other than yourself and your immediate family. And I'm actually not sure you care much about your immediate family. But that's another subject. It's very amusing and shows how insecure you are that anybody who criticizes you is immediately subjected to a Twitter attack. A Twitter attack, for God's sake. I mean, it's so pathetic, it's laughable. It's like the behavior of a 5-year-old throwing a temper tantrum. It's not the behavior of a grown man who's supposed to be a successful businessman. Now, as to you being a successful businessman, you're also a fraud in that respect. You're not a successful businessman. You've failed more times than you've succeeded. You've bankrupted so many people and businesses that you are considered to be a really bad risk by every banking institution in the world, other than those controlled by Vladimir Putin and the Russians, who like having somebody as incompetent as you in the White House. You're their guy, bought and paid for. And I wonder if some of the money that you've accumulated has been as a result of laundering money for the Russian Bratva instead of just through your efforts. Everybody who does business with you gets screwed one way or another. People who come close to you and are your confidants and close friends will be discarded the moment they become a liability or not an asset. And they don't even have to be a liability, they just have to be not an asset. I still can't believe you haven't thrown Rudy Giuliani under a bus yet, although he hasn't been on the news much as far as I can see. He is a completely unstable and deranged person, and how he ever got to where he got is incomprehensible. I think Rudy might be suffering from early onset dementia. He's so nutty and unstable. And you must realize that he's a tremendous liability, so it's only a matter of time. But the coronavirus has put all that to the back of your mind. Now, it's also apparent to me, and I'm sure a lot of people, that you view this coronavirus as a golden opportunity to cancel the coming election and give you another year or more without having to go through and fight for it. Now, I actually, sadly, don't think that any of the candidates on the Democratic side have the possibility to beat you. I really don't. And it's a sad state of affairs, but the Democrats are weak and ineffectual, and they're fielding people who really don't have a chance to beat you, no matter how bad you are, and bad you are. Now, if you do manage to cancel the election, because of a national crisis and emergency. What you'll do when the next election comes around is claim that you've only had one term, whether you've served 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, or whatever, and that you deserve a second term because you want to be in office permanently. You see yourself as a god, or at least a demigod, and you think you deserve to be in power for the rest of your life. You'd like to be like Vladimir Putin, who is another horrible human being. And Mr. Putin, unlike you, would probably have me killed for criticizing him. But hey, I'm old. I don't care all that much. Well, Mr. President, and I use that term with absolutely zero respect, you are currently presiding over the greatest recession in history since the Great Depression. Millions of people will lose everything. Pensioners will have no money. People will have no jobs. They won't be able to afford food to put on the table. And I suspect that the death toll from coronavirus itself will be dwarfed in relation to the death toll from suicides brought on by depression. I suspect millions of people will kill themselves in the next few years. And to a very large extent, that's on your head. Now, I hope you're proud of yourself. Oh, I forgot, you already are, especially so. People who have to tell other people constantly how great they are, which is what you do, are in actual fact suffering from extremely low self-esteem, and they're just trying to boost themselves by having others perceive them as being great. But in their heart, they know, as you do, that they're not. They know you're a little man with big aspirations. And I think that's the best way to describe you. And unfortunately, for all of us, those aspirations have come to fruition. But do you deserve to be where you are? No. I think you actually deserve to be and should be in a mental institution. Because I'm not actually sure that you're not suffering from early onset dementia along with Rudy Giuliani. The only way that you know how to behave is to lie, which you do all the time, and then you claim that the news is fake. I mean, talk about a contradiction in terms and an irony of all ironies. But what you do is you lie, you cheat, and you steal. It's the only way you know how to live. And, as I said, we are the worse for it. You may well think that a big ego and high self-esteem go hand in hand. But they do not. People with big egos rarely have very high self-esteem. And people with high self-esteem really don't need a very big ego. Now, we've all got an ego, of course, but it doesn't need to be rampant and out of control like yours is. In fact, your ego is so off the charts that it's why you're frequently described as a narcissist. When you look in the mirror, you see the greatest person that's ever lived. You see a giant among humanity. But what the world sees is the reality that you're a small man who will go down in history as a loser. A huge loser. And all the money you've supposedly made is insignificant because you didn't make it in an honest way. You didn't do it like Richard Branson or Elon Musk or people like them who have talent and drive and ambition and work really hard to get what they want and what they need. But they're not, none of them, driven by what you're driven by. They actually want to contribute something to society. Elon Musk especially, who is a truly admirable person. A bit crazy sometimes, but brilliant. And brilliance often comes close to insanity. Now, I don't know how it is that somehow you've managed to skate through life avoiding all the consequences of your actions. I used to believe in karma, but I think in your case karma has taken a break and decided to have a nap. So, karma, if you're listening and watching this video, get off your big, fat, lazy ass and do your job to some other big, fat, lazy ass. Oh, yes, I'm referring to you, Mr. President. Now, Mr. Chump, the chances of you seeing this video are slim to none. And if you did, you'd dismiss it as the rantings of a hater. I don't hate you. I just think you're pathetic. Hate is too strong a word to describe, but it's what you use and what you know. Now, if you do see it, you can, of course, attack me on Twitter. You're welcome to. I'll look forward to it, and I'll also look forward to all the hate mail and the comments I'm going to get on this video from people who are fans of yours. And I will do my very best to share those with the world in a subsequent video. Now, if anybody watching this knows me and wants to cross me off their friend list because I dare to criticize you and what you're doing, then great, because I don't want to be friends with them anyway. I don't care one whit, but I do care that you hear, or that at least I articulate the way I and many, many, many people feel about you. You know, George W. Bush was a terrible president. In fact, he was incredibly bad. He was the worst of all time. That is, until you came along. And now a lot of us would probably like him back. No, I'm not sure that's true. But despite all his faults, George W. is very likable. And I would sit down and have a beer with him any day of the week, notwithstanding the fact that we disagree on almost everything. He's still likable, and I'd like to chat to him. Now you, on the other hand, Mr. President, I wouldn't cross the street to piss on you, to put you out if you were on fire. And if you called me, or somebody called me and offered me $10 million to have dinner with you, I'd tell them to fuck off. And they'd get the same answer if it was 100 million or 1 billion. Fuck off. I wouldn't waste 1 second of my life on you. Not 1 second. But I suppose I'm wasting 5 minutes on this video, so I guess that's a contradiction. In conclusion, you're an absolute disgrace to the human race. You're an embarrassment to the American public. You're a joke to the world. And I sincerely hope that karma comes and gets you pretty damn quick. I'm Michael Richard, and I approve this message. Bye-bye.